Hi, my name is Karen Phelps. Thanks so much for allowing me to share a little bit of my work with you. We don't always get to do an analysis, but when we do, these are some of the steps that I go through to ensure that we are accurately capturing the business need, the audience, the skill gap, the scope, all of the things that we need to be looking at. This slide is a slide that I share with the subject matter experts and stakeholders when we begin a project. It helps them to understand what each phase of the project that they will be involved in is about. So phase one is primarily the client, what's happening with the client internally there. In phase two, that's where we begin the detailed design, and I work with them to help transfer their outline or general ideas into an actual design summary of what the course will look like. In phase three, of course, we develop the materials and begin ensuring that we have effective learning and that the materials meet whatever standards are required by any regulatory body. In phase four, we have a series of reviews to ensure that we haven't introduced any errors into the content until we finally have a sign-off. This slide is one that I also share with them that helps them understand their time commitment. Sometimes the subject matter experts are nervous about that because they already have full-time jobs. So this helps them see what they'll be doing, who's going to be kind of holding their hand as we go forward, try to help them feel a little bit more comfortable. I do the same thing during the development phase, of course, also helping them understand that, yes, it's going to be an iterative process. It isn't just a couple of things. We're going to make sure the learning is effective. And they'll have a chance to ensure that there are no errors before we launch the course. This is one of the documents that I use in the design process to help them map the content. Sometimes there are regulatory bodies that require a certain number of assessment questions or knowledge checks in the training. This is an example of a mapping activity that makes sure that the course objectives, the supporting lesson level learning objectives, any activities and assessments all map together well. This is the template for the design summary, which maps the course objectives, lesson level learning objectives, any activities, and required regulatory assessments to ensure that we have not only an effective course in terms of learning, but that we're also meeting whatever regulatory requirements there are. This is an instructor guide that I created for a flight procedure software course. You see here at the beginning of the instructor guide, I have all of the materials that are needed for each module. This particular course required a lot of data files because they did hands-on activities in the software during class. This was a 6-week class. So I have thumbnails of all of the slides and then what the instructor wants to say. And anytime I have something like this here, mentioning that this is a build slide, that means it's animated. And so I just want to make sure to tell them, be sure to click to do thus and such to reveal something. In addition to teaching the concepts, as you see here in slide 7, this is a concept about the particular kind of database they're using. They also needed to talk about what things do in the software. And here you see in slide 10, everything on top of each other. That's because it's an animation. And I'll show you that slide here in just a moment. One of the courses that I designed and developed recently was a course on flight procedure design. The audience was a group of young college graduates in Gdansk, Poland. So we have the Millennial Challenge, making sure that things are engaging, hold their interest, highly visual. So in addition to explaining the concepts, we also made sure that they had lots of visual explanation of that and that they were able to go back through the PowerPoints. And I designed it in such a way that the PowerPoints could be put online to use for refresher training. I employed a lot of animation that made it easy for the instructor to talk to various concepts that he needed to explain. The course was tremendously successful, and the company wants to roll it out to all of their flight procedure designers worldwide. One of the challenges with e-learning is keeping their interest. One of the ways that I've done that is by adding various hover to reveal or click to reveal activities. Here, for example, is a glossary where they can just go through easily and look at that. Also, everything is available in the upper tab. Well, I've taken that off here, but ordinarily it would be there. In this example, we're teaching people about how a particular database works, and so we want to make sure they understand what each component does for that database. To give them a deeper look at how it all fits together, I created this map so they can see this in a big picture view, but you can also mouse over and let them see it in greater detail for each component. If we go to some of the click to reveal interactions, one of my favorite is the tab click. That enables them to go back and forth, look at the content in detail. It's really good for when you're trying to teach a sequence of events, a process. Case studies are a great way to help someone learn how to apply what they're learning. For that, we have a number of different ways. A basic scenario where they get some information, they look at how that impacts things in the real world, and then they need to determine what the solution would be, how they would handle it. Here's another example of a case study where they receive some background information, they find out what went wrong, and they learned what should have been done, what should have been appropriate for this instance, and how to apply that in the future. This was a video scribe that I decided to use to help with some very, very dry content. They're going to be reading all about this separately, but it's a blended learning piece, and so there's instructor-led, but there's also some blended learning, adding some e-learning and micro-learning. And so by adding a little bit of a little bit of flash, a little bit of visual interest to it, we're able to boost the learning curve here. Thanks again for letting me share a little bit about myself and my work. I look forward to learning more about your opportunity.